On Monday morning, July 19th, 1976, the staff of the Société Générale bank in Nice unlocked the doors and began their routine. A customer was waiting early, asking to open his safe deposit box. The clerks led him downstairs to the vault, as they had done 100 times before. The manager placed his key into the lock, turned the wheel, and nothing happened. He frowned, tried again, leaned his weight into it. The vault door would not move. Vaults don't just jam shut. Something was wrong. With growing unease, the manager called for help. First came a locksmith, toolbox in hand. He studied the mechanism, tested the wheel, then shook his head. It's not stuck. It's been welded from the inside. The word hung in the air. Welded from inside the vault? A welder was brought in, dragging hoses and a torch. The hiss of gas filled the corridor. Sparks showered against the steel as he cut through the seams. Minute after tense minute passed, until at last, with a groan of metal, the door gave way. The staff leaned forward, expecting order, polished boxes, the quiet smell of sealed wealth. Instead, they saw chaos. Mattresses strewn across the floor, empty bottles of wine, plates with the crusts of meals, and everywhere the gaping mouths of looted safe deposit boxes, doors torn open, contents scattered onto the concrete. 317 boxes emptied, tens of millions of francs gone, and on one bare metal door, taped neatly as if to sign the performance, a single note: ni arms, ni violence, ni haine. No weapons, no violence, no hate. Albert Spaggiari was not the sort of man you'd expect to outwit a bank. He ran a small photography shop in Nice. On the surface, he was ordinary, polite with customers, a bit eccentric, the kind of man who told stories bigger than himself. But beneath the smile lived a soldier's discipline, a gambler's nerve, and a dreamer's taste for theater. Months earlier, Albert Spaggiari rented a safe deposit box, like many of Nice's wealthy clients. And when he was led into the vault, he noticed something strange. The room had thick walls, a heavy door, but no alarm, no siren, no hidden cameras in the ceiling, just steel, silence, and the arrogance of a bank that believed itself untouchable. Spaggiari left that day carrying more than his deposit. He carried a vision. He began to sketch, to calculate. The vault sat just above the old sewer tunnels that ran like veins beneath the city. If a man could reach them, if a tunnel could be cut through rock and concrete, then inside that fortress of wealth, there might be no obstacle at all. At night, he walked the streets of Nice, listening to the city above while imagining the paths below. He obtained maps of the sewer system, tracing the lines. With every line of ink, the impossible began to look inevitable. This was not to be a robbery with guns and masks. Spaggiari wanted something different, something grand. A job pulled off in silence, under the feet of the entire city. And so, he began quietly preparing for the greatest heist France had ever seen. When the plan was ready, Spaggiari picked his crew. Not gentlemen thieves, but workers who could dig, keep quiet, and follow orders. Some came from Marseille, others from the local underworld. He promised them a payday if they endured the grind. They entered Nice through sewer covers, dragging tools into the tunnels. Pickaxes, drills, crowbars, oxygen tanks. The air was foul, the walls dripping, but there was no turning back. Night after night they hacked through earth and concrete. Progress was slow, the rock was stubborn, the concrete thick. But after weeks underground, their tools finally struck something different, a hollow thud. It was the outer wall of the bank's vault. Behind it, hundreds of safe deposit boxes, untouched wealth waiting in the dark. Spaggiari brushed the dust from his hands. The way inside was ready. Above them, the city carried on, unaware its bank was about to be emptied from beneath its feet. Friday night, July 16th, 1976. The bank had closed for the weekend. That was the moment Spaggiari and his men had been waiting for. They entered the sewer, crawled through their tunnel, and reached the wall of the vault. Drills and hammers came out. After hours of pounding, the wall cracked open, and they climbed inside. The vault was theirs. No alarms, no guards, just hundreds of boxes lined up in silence. They had prepared to stay. Mattresses were dragged in, food, wine, even a camping stove. They turned the vault into a hideout. While the city above slept, they worked. Box after box was forced open. Steel bent, locks snapped, cash spilled onto the floor. Jewelry, gold coins, bearer bonds, documents, everything of value was taken. Papers and worthless items were tossed aside. They stayed through Saturday, through Sunday, opening 317 boxes in total. The floor was littered with broken metal, scattered paper, and crumbs from their meals. By the end, nearly 50 million francs had been stripped from the bank. Before leaving, Spaggiari left a message. On one box he taped a note: Ni arme, ni violence, ni haine. No weapons, no violence, no hate. The discovery sent shockwaves through Nice. By mid-morning, crowds had gathered outside the bank. Clients shouted, demanding to know if their fortunes were gone. Some pleaded for access to the vault, others threatened lawsuits. Police sealed off the building. Inside, inspectors photographed the wreckage, bagged evidence, and traced the tunnel back into the sewers. Down there they found tools, lamps, empty oxygen tanks, even food wrappers. The gang had left behind proof of weeks of work underground. The press swarmed the scene. By that evening, every newspaper in France carried the story. Le casse du siècle, the heist of the century. Investigators began their search. They checked construction companies, sewer workers, locksmiths, anyone with the skills to break into a vault. They followed the trail through Marseille's underworld, where whispers of Spaggiari's name began to surface. For the public, the crime was shocking. For the police, it was humiliating. A gang had lived inside a bank for 3 days, looted it, and vanished without firing a single shot. France had never seen anything like it. For months, investigators followed the trail left in the sewers. They traced receipts for equipment, oxygen tanks, even the welding tools. Leads pointed toward Marseille's underworld, where names began to surface. One suspect, caught with stolen jewels, finally talked. He described meetings with a man from Nice, a man who ran a small photo studio but spoke like a commander. His name was Albert Spaggiari. Police placed him under surveillance. In October 1976, as he walked into his shop on Rue de Rivoli, plainclothes officers moved in. Spaggiari was arrested without a fight. In custody, he didn't hide. He admitted leading the operation, though he shielded most of his crew. He told investigators the job had been done without violence, a point of pride. Reporters were fascinated. Here was a thief who quoted slogans, smiled in court, and carried himself like an actor on stage. But Spaggiari had no intention of facing trial. On June 10, 1977, he was brought before Judge Richard at the Palais de Justice in Nice. Midway through the session, Spaggiari asked permission to hand a document to his lawyer. The judge nodded. Spaggiari rose, walked across the room, and instead of stopping at the lawyer's desk, he headed for the open window. In a single motion, he vaulted over the sill. 3 stories down, he crashed onto the roof of a parked car, rolled, and staggered to his feet. A motorcycle was waiting. He climbed on, wrapped his arms around the driver, and sped into the streets of Nice. By the time police reached the window, Spaggiari was gone. The man who had tunneled under a bank had now leapt out of a courthouse and vanished into legend. After his escape from the courthouse, Spaggiari disappeared. For months, he was a ghost. Police raids across France turned up nothing. Then came the rumors. He had slipped across the border into Italy. He was seen in South America. He was hiding in Argentina under a false name. Every lead ended in smoke. While on the run, Spaggiari fed the myth. He sent letters to the press, even photographs, posing in sunglasses, smiling, taunting the authorities. He published a book about the heist, painting himself as a gentleman bandit. To some, he was a criminal. To others, a folk hero who had robbed the rich without spilling blood. Meanwhile, the investigation dragged on. Dozens of accomplices were arrested and sentenced, but without their leader, the trial felt incomplete. Spaggiari remained untouchable, moving through safe houses, protected by friends and sympathizers. He lived like that for more than a decade, constantly on guard, constantly in motion. In the end, exile wore him down. In 1989, in hiding near Paris, Albert Spaggiari died of cancer at the age of 53. He never returned to prison. He never revealed the full list of his accomplices, and most of the fortune stolen from the Société Générale bank was never recovered.